last week we did the top 10 best Hell in a Cell matches. And Kevin, we had a bit of fun doing it. Some positivity, going through the best of Hell in a Cell. Generally, Hell in a Cell has had quite the array of pretty good matches over the years. Well, today we're doing much the opposite. We're going through the top 10 worst Hell in a Cell matches ever. So this video, naturally, is going to go about probably 10 minutes longer than the other one. Kevin, are you hyped? Are you gassed to go over the top 10 worst Hell in a Cell matches ever, pal?
I'm ready. I mean, we've had, 45 Hell in a Cell matches in history? So there's bound to be at least 10 stinkers in there. And there's some that are really bad. And then there's some that are just kind of bad. But we're here to focus on all of that. And I can't wait. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, absolutely. So I think without any further ado, let's just jump right into this. For an honorable mention, we're just going to throw this in because this is, technically kind of a Hell in a Cell to an extent. Kevin, I'm passing the baton to you on this one. The Kennel from Hell match between Al Snow and the Big Boss Man. Walk us through this one, because it deserves a mention of some kind.
Yeah, this definitely deserves a mention. It's not technically a Hell in a Cell match, but this was called, a Kennel from Hell match. And this is maybe a week or 2 or 3 weeks after Big Boss Man fed Al Snow his dog on live TV. You heard that right. Big Boss Man fed Al Snow his dog. That's what WWE was, or WWF was doing back in the late 90s. That's the Attitude Era that we all know and love. And literally what this match was 2 grown men fighting inside of a UFC-like structure with canine animals at ringside, just chilling, looking vicious, That was it. For some reason, there's just big police dogs at ringside while Big Boss Man and Al Snow are fighting because Al Snow is upset that he had to eat his dog. So yeah, pretty raunchy. Doesn't need to be talked about any more than it already has been.
Yeah, so, that one, we're throwing that out as an honorable mention. Now, to get into the top 10, okay, so just to preface this list, the top 5 or so we feel are pretty damn objective. And then 6 through 10, they're bad in their own unique way. So, kicking us off at number 10, we've got Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman from Hell in a Cell 2018. Kevin, this one, look, personally, I don't have, the worst memories of it. It's not like a match I think, oh my god, I'd rather be dead before I watch that match again. But the fact of the matter is, it went for 23-odd minutes between Reigns and Strowman, which the best Reigns and Strowman matches are 10 minutes them just beating the crap out of each other. This went for 23, and the whole point of the match, Kevin, was, oh my god, guys, look, Mick Foley's the referee. Guys, Mick Foley's the guest referee there, John. Mick Foley's the referee there, Kevin. That's all this match was. And then Brock just ripped a door off, and that was it. Kevin, what was this?
Well, Brock came out. That's the only thing I remember is Brock coming out and beating up both guys, and then there was a no contest, I believe, if my memory serves me correct.
Yes, right. Correct.
And the whole thing about this too is Braun Strowman was coming off a mediocre tag team run with a 10-year-old boy at WrestleMania, whatever, 32, 34, whatever it was. And now he's here in a title match against Roman Reigns. And why did Brock Lesnar beat them both up? What did this set up Brock and Strowman at Saudi Arabia? Is that what the purpose was?
No, this set up Reigns against Strowman against Lesnar at Saudi show, or Crown, or whatever show it was. And then before that match actually happened, 2 weeks before, Reigns had to go off with the leukemia situation. So this whole time period for the Universal title was a bit of a mess. Reigns had just overcome Lesnar after 1.5 years of trying to feud with him. And now we got this. Tough.
Yeah, Reigns overcame Lesnar because Lesnar got distracted by a Braun Strowman interference at SummerSlam. Yeah, this was a clouded WWE Universal title picture. Definitely a far cry from where we are just 2.5 years later, going into Hell in a Cell 2021. But yeah, this match, it's here mainly because there's just nothing memorable about this. It wasn't an awful match. The finish was lame. It felt forced. There was really no need to have this match at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one comes in number 10, and as I said, not every one of these top 10 is built like the other. This one is not the best, bit of a dodgy ending. The match wasn't the greatest, but nowhere near as bad as the top few. So yeah, that's number 10. Kevin, moving on to number 9. I'll try and make you put a lid on this one, because I know you could go on about this for half an hour. At number 9, we've got Randy Orton versus Sheamus for the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell 2010. I'll preface this before I pass the baton to you. This was naked Randy Orton in 2010, walking around, having a feud with Sheamus, who'd been in the company about a year, for the WWE title. This is amidst Cena main eventing every show, beating the Nexus. You've got Hell in a Cell match with Randy Orton and Sheamus. Kevin, walk us through this one.
Yeah, you've got Cena burying Alex Riley because Alex Riley didn't shake his hand at backstage at a house show in Canada. And then you got Penis Randy Orton running wild, terrorizing writers and women in backstage after doing like coke and strippers. Then he's out there having a match with Sheamus. And like, okay, what is this? Why is Randy Orton versus Sheamus a WWE title match? Like, who thought this was a good idea? This was the WWE title picture again in 2010, very similar to 2018. Why did this match take place? What purpose did it serve? Why was Randy Orton champion when John Cena was clearly the top guy and CM Punk was the clear number 2? Why is Randy Orton champion? I'll never know. Whatever. It's just Penis Orton beating up an Irishman with a mohawk. Like, that's really what this match was.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this match is just so not memorable. It's just, you look at all the Hell in a Cell matches, like you go through them, near enough everyone from the 2000s outside of like 2 was like memorable, really good. Obviously the ones from the late 90s are all just like historic and iconic. And even a bunch of them from the 2010s are good. This match, you don't remember a thing from it. I'm sure someone's going to comment, I remember this match. This is my 4th favorite match of 2010. Like, I'm sure someone out there exists like that, but my God, this was just dead. So that's number 9. Moving on, Kevin, number 8. And another one for you to give us a bit of content on. The Undertaker versus Randy Orton from Armageddon 05. Now, once again, this isn't like the all-time worst match ever, but my God, Kevin, you've got Bob Orton nearly giving The Undertaker AIDS. I mean, come on. This deserves a top 10 spot.
Yeah, you got Cowboy Bob Orton, the father of Randy Orton, involved in this match, getting beat up, getting busted open. I don't know if it was hard way or if he bladed, but he ended up bleeding all over Undertaker. And he had some sort of STD. I don't know if it was herpes or if it was chlamydia or something like that. And the Undertaker almost contracted this virus. And could you imagine? Could you just imagine if like WWE's top guy gets an STD on a pay-per-view? Like, what this would have done for wrestling? I don't even know. Maybe that's a fun what if. Maybe I just got a video idea. I'm gonna make a video called "What If the Undertaker Contracted a STD in 2005." Stay tuned for that on my channel, there, pal. Yeah, I mean, this match, it's memorable in the sense that Undertaker almost contracted a virus from Randy Orton's father. Other than that, I can't tell you if Randy Orton did a hip toss at the 3-minute 7-second timestamp. I can't tell you if Undertaker terrorized Randy Orton in the mirror of a bathroom in a locker room on SmackDown leading up to this. I don't know what happened. Like, this was the end. Finally the end of what? A year-long feud? Literally a year-long feud? Like, people thought Seth Rollins versus the Mysterio family was long. This was Seth Rollins and Mysterio before Seth Rollins versus the Mysterio family. Good God. And then it just got worse here for Randy Orton in 2006, but we don't want to go into that, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll say that for the video on your channel, but yeah, to give a modern example, this is essentially what they tried to do recently with Randy Orton and The Fiend. You have Randy Orton against this like supernatural entity for like the better part of a year. Like, granted, Orton and The Fiend just turned into Alexa Bliss doing voodoo with a tiara, but I mean, this was just... I mean, Bob Orton nearly ended Undertaker's career, so that's a great way of putting this on the list. Moving on to number 7, this one features The Undertaker again, which, I mean, this is his last mention on this list because he's been involved in a lot of great ones. This one needs to be mentioned, though, Kevin. The Undertaker versus Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15, which, if you don't remember, this one is pretty much only remembered for Undertaker hanging Big Boss Man from the cell and Michael Cole screaming, "It's a white noose! Is it symbolic, King? Is it symbolic? He's hanging the corporation, King!" That's legit all this was, Kevin. Can I get you to walk us through this one? Because, my God, this was abysmal.
Yeah, you got Undertaker. He's, like 34 at the time versus Big Boss Man. It's like 42. So these are some middle-aged men here. At WrestleMania, this is a show of shows, mind you. The match that followed this match is Stone Cold versus The Rock for the first time at WrestleMania. The co-main event is The Undertaker hanging Big Boss Man on a noose. And you got Michael Cole. It's symbolic, Kang! It's symbolic! Yeah, I mean, you talk about Hell in a Cell matches that have taken place at WrestleMania. This is by and large the worst one. It's not even close. I mean, God,
oh, yeah.
I don't even know. Like, bro, you look at this. This gets a pass because it happened in the Attitude Era and Big Boss Man's no longer around. But if this happened in like 2018, oh my god,
my god,
WWE would never be able to live it down.
God, you have just YouTube reviews. Bruce, what is this, Bruce? And you have people like yelling, "Oh, I want Vince McMahon dead for this. I hope WWE stocks crashes to zero. I hope WWE goes out of business for how disgusting a WWE." And granted, you had those people back then. That loud vocal minority was saying that back then. But my God, I mean, if they did this nowadays, oh my God, they'd lose every brand deal they have. So yeah, this was just bad. That's number 7, Kevin. Moving on to number 6. This one's straight out of your era before we get into the top 5, which are all ones from my kind of fandom. This one, number 6, DX, so it doesn't sound too bad, versus the McMahons and Big Show at Unforgiven 2006. Kevin, wow. There's a lot to say about this one. I'll let you do all the talking for here.
Yeah, this one's right from my childhood. I was a young man, heavily invested in WWE programming in 2006. DX, I mean, you had two of my favorite wrestlers, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, reuniting. And then they're feuding with, what are they feuding with? Male cheerleaders? Vince McMahon and his, 36-year-old son and Big Show? Like that, this was like an 8-month feud where you had Vince and wrestling God on pay-per-view. And then, Triple H is there, and now we got this Hell in a Cell match. And really, the only thing that's notable from this match is two 40-year-old men shoving Vince McMahon's head up Big Show's ass. That's the noteworthy thing that happened on this match. You got Vince McMahon's bloody face after being in Big Show's ass, and he's just like shocked. That's the face. That's the meme from this match. Nothing else happened. You had maybe Dolph Ziggler, aka Nikki from the Spirit Squad, super kicking Shawn Michaels. That's probably the only other thing that happened in this match. Just, God, I mean, brutal. You talk about a joke. Like, this was an attempt at comedy, and it just failed.
Oh, that's so bad. And to think people want Nikki from the Spirit Squad to dethrone Roman Reigns. I've had comments saying that. Wow. Jesus Christ almighty. Okay, so that's DX versus the McMahons and the Big Show. I love this video. Okay, and moving on to number 5, we've got this one, which is literally a month into my viewing fandom. John Cena versus CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio for the WWE Championship at 2011's Hell in a Cell. Kevin, we did a whole video reacting to this and how it was one of the worst endings, in our opinion, ever. Because if you don't remember, this was WWE doing their take on police brutality, featuring Triple H beating up a defenseless, handcuffed R-Truth on the ground, kicking him. This was that ending. So, Kevin, you've got this time period where we've just had the summer of Punk, okay? CM Punk he has the most momentum of any wrestler in the world, at least he should have, but WWE tried to kill it. He wins against Cena at SummerSlam. Alberto El Patron cashes in just so WWE could sell some more tickets on a Mexico live event tour in September. And then they do Night of Champions. Triple H just beats CM Punk for whatever reason. And 2 weeks later, there's a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view just because. And we get Cena versus Punk versus Alberto Del Rio. And it's this 15-minute the dynamic here didn't work at all. These guys don't mesh as a collective three. Punk and Cena mesh. Del Rio doesn't click with any of this. You've just got Del Rio's just there, and then you got Ricardo Rodriguez. I think he might have been there. He might not have been. I don't really care. And then you have this ending, Kevin, where Awesome Truth invade the cell as if they're retribution, and then the Miz is wearing the most skin-tight t-shirt you'll ever see. And then they get arrested, and Triple H is beating up a defenseless black man on the ground. This was awful. Oh, this is number 5. It could have been number 2. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, this definitely deserves to kick off our top 5. Yeah, you could put this at number 2, 3. You could put this anywhere. This match is terrible. From start to finish. The ending, one of the worst endings in wrestling history. Like, it's just on a short list of the worst match endings in history. It was so bad. I mean, come on. You got Miz and R-Truth with batons beating up referees while you have Teddy Long shaking a cage gently, trying to get in, trying to stop the evil Miz and R-Truth. First of all, who's going to be scared of the Miz, bro? Come on. Look at the Miz. You're gonna be scared of the Miz? If the Miz showed up the same way he was dressed at this 2011 pay-per-view, if he showed up at a mall and it was like, put your hands up, this is a robbery, you turned around and you saw that version of the Miz behind you, you would laugh. No way. There's no way you're giving that guy your money. Come on.
We're supposed to believe that, as Vince says himself, the WWE's Ryan Seacrest could pull off a hit and run arrest angle. Like what is this, bro? Absolute crap, absolute trash, absolute filth. This was bad. And the fact that I see people actively, I still see, when we did that video, that video got a decent amount of dislikes. People genuinely thought that was good. Like that ending this match. I don't know how. This is when I have my rose-colored glasses on as an 8-year-old kid of, oh my god, everything WWE does is good. Even then, I was like, what am I watching? Why are these two men having an arrest angle to close a Summer of Punk pay-per-view? What is this? So yeah, that's number 5, Kevin. Unless you have anything else to say, I think we move on to number 4.
Yeah, I think it's time for us to move on. There's another one. This one here is another one right from your wheelhouse, so take it away.
Okay, so number 4, we've got CM Punk versus Ryback and Paul Heyman. This was at Hell in a Cell 2013, which, if you don't remember that pay-per-view, that's the one where Brian beat Randy Orton for the 3rd straight pay-per-view, but then got stripped of the title like the day after. That was one of those pay-per-views. So you got CM Punk. This whole thing was ridiculous. So they do Punk and Brock at SummerSlam, a match everyone loves, one of my favorite matches ever. It was amazing. And WWE go, okay, what can we do with CM Punk? Let's have him continue this Heyman feud, only instead of Brock Lesnar, a guy who everyone wants to see wrestle Punk, let's have CM Punk wrestle against Curtis Axel and Ryback. Kevin, who wouldn't want to see that? So we get a match at Night of Champions, I believe, which was Punk versus Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman. Just the matchup everyone wanted to see. And then Punk just beat them both. Then in Hell in a Cell, we get CM Punk versus Paul Heyman and his steroided up meathead best friend Ryback. This is about, was this a few weeks after, or maybe a year after, Ryback dropped CM Punk, quote unquote, onto a table, and Punk missed the table altogether and broke his ribs on the concrete floor. That was this time period, Kevin. So we get Punk, Ryback, Heyman, one of the least memorable Hell in a Cell matches ever. All I remember was Paul Heyman in a tracksuit, like trying to open the door. He's like crying. CM Punk's got a kendo stick. You got Ryback like, this sucked. This was really bad. I do have any memories from this, but I mean, this is just bad.
I don't remember anything from this at all. Like nothing. The only thing I remember is watching this thinking, why are they building a match between Ryback and Punk again? And why is Paul Heyman involved? Like that's all I could think. It's like, you can't get Brock Lesnar because he's got, at that point, he was wrestling 2 matches a year. So why are we having this? I don't know. But nevertheless, let's move on to number 3. Another PG era classic, if you will. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose from Hell in a Cell 2014. Realistically, this match was good. It was a good work rate match. No doubt about it.
Yes.
Rollins and Dean Ambrose, 2 of the very best in the business. Great athletes, great in ring. The ending was just silly, to say the least. You had Bray Wyatt just show up out of nowhere. Sister Abigail Ambrose, while you have a scared Rollins looking on. First of all, why is Rollins scared of Bray Wyatt? Bray Wyatt could not beat anybody in 2014. And then, like, the whole idea was WWE needed somebody for Bray Wyatt to squash so he could face Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. So they just fed him Dean Ambrose, and he beat Dean Ambrose in like 2 straight pay-per-views after this.
Kevin, you've got to give some context to this, okay? Ambrose and Rollins was like the big breakout feud of the 2 biggest up-and-comers in the company in 2014. This began at like June 1st, I believe, when Rollins ended the Shield. And they did this long-winded storyline. This had gone for months and months and months. I don't think people quite remember, but all 2014 was, through the guts, was Ambrose and Cena versus the authority of Orton, Rollins, Kane, and J&J every week for like 6 months. And you get this big payoff, Kevin, where the Hell in a Cell match between Ambrose and Rollins. Rollins has been running from Ambrose for months. Can Ambrose get his hands on Rollins? Like, 6 months of this we dealt with, Kevin. And the payoff was, oh my god, Ambrose and Rollins are climbing the side of the cell. Oh my god, they both jumped off the cell at the same time. Oh, they both went through separate announce tables. Oh my god, there's a lantern. Oh my god, is that Bray Wyatt? Oh, Rollins wins. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, you got like Bray Wyatt's lantern. Like caused the finish for this match. Yeah. The context is important. Rollins and Ambrose, yes, this was a big feud. We're like, 3-4 months removed from Rollins breaking up the Shield. And yeah, this is what we get. We get just WWE sacrificing Dean Ambrose so Bray Wyatt could look strong to get squashed by Undertaker at WrestleMania. And this match was like, yeah, it's not good. There's no rewatchability. It's very deserving of being in the top 5.
Yeah, and plus, just really quick, this is like 6 months or like 5 months after John Cena's just AA'd Bray Wyatt through a crate at Payback and literally buried him for a 10 count. And this is supposed to be the Bray Wyatt who, oh my god, everyone's afraid of Bray Wyatt. Like, no. Like, Bray Wyatt had just spent 2 months feuding with Chris Jericho in the mid-card. And all of a sudden, this guy is ending pay-per-views, supposed to be like the big, oh my god, it's Bray Wyatt. Like, stop, get out of here. So, that's number 3, Kevin. Moving on to number 2. This one, my god. I'll get your thoughts and I'll go. Number 2, we've got CM Punk versus Ryback for the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell 2012. Kevin, walk us through this one.
Oh, God. Just stupid ending. Again, I mean, that's kind of the common theme here with these matches. The last 4 we talked about have all had terrible endings. Again, you have Brad Maddox as a special guest referee. He's punching Ryback. And we get this story that just, like, spawned from this where Punk is feuding with Brad Maddox. Okay? I know what you're asking. Who is Brad Maddox? Brad Maddox is the guy that's infamously known for his relationship with Paige. And that's it. And he had a feud with CM Punk. Somehow this guy had a feud with CM Punk. CM Punk's one of the greatest wrestlers ever. And you'd be hard-pressed to figure out why when you look at some of the things that the guy has been forced to do or did or whatever. I mean, we talked about feuding with Curtis Axel and Ryback and Paul Heyman. A year prior, he's feuding with Brad Maddox. This guy, he was kind of like the Constable Corbin. That was kind of like his role back in 2012. He would just come out there and be like, yeah, we're going to have a match. It's going to be CM Punk versus Jobber number 2 in the main event. And then this guy is feuding with the biggest star in the company in 2012. It didn't make any sense. Go ahead.
Kevin, to give a modern example, this would be the same as if you have Roman Reigns versus whoever in a pay-per-view, and you've got like someone like Adam Pearce as the referee, and you've got Adam Pearce like punching Reigns' babyface challenger in the balls, and then Reigns just pins them. That's essentially kind of what it would be. Because you've got CM Punk, and stuff like this is why I don't consider his 434-day reign, despite the fact that I'm one of the biggest Punk fans out there, I don't consider that reign as like a goated title reign, because of stuff like this. This whole heel part of Punk's run was him, he'd kick Bret Hart in the head for some reason, he'd yell at Jerry Lawler and make him have a heart attack, and he'd punch Vince McMahon, and you get to the pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, and you got CM Punk running around trying to escape Ryback inside the cage for 10 minutes. And then the ending to the match is Brad Maddox, a guy who all he's known for is holding a camera, filming a relationship between Xavier Woods and Paige. And you get a low blow from Brad Maddox to Ryback's balls. Ryback, a guy who'd spent 6 months hitting shell-shocked on 3 scrawny midgets from some local indie fed, pinning 3 people at once. Punk ends Ryback's momentum, and WWE end his momentum with that. Punk retains, and then Ryback just shell-shocks him on top of the cell to end the show. Awful. One of the worst matches of Hell in a Cell history. Terrible. Awful, Kevin. Awful.
Yes, absolutely. And it's time now to talk about the singular worst, objectively the worst Hell in a Cell match ever.
A masterpiece, Kevin. It's a masterpiece.
Oh, God. I was waiting for you to say it. Yeah, so this is like a top 5 worst match, I would say, in WWE history. At least top 10 consideration. This match was terrible. The Fiend versus Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell 2019. God. Where do you start with this? Again, the ending was terrible. All of our top 5 matches have had terrible endings. You have The Fiend versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is in the middle of what, like a 7-month Universal title reign at this point? Where he's we'll go into the title reign in a moment, but yeah, go on. Oh, that's right. He lost the title, then won it back. I forgot about that. So he wins the title back from Brock Lesnar, and he's coming off of tag teaming with his wife Becky Lynch against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. Then here he's thrown into this random match with the Fiend, and what is this like? What did this match do for anyone? It ended in a ref stoppage, in like a disqualification, because Seth Rollins was beating the Fiend, this unstoppable just entity. He's beating him up too much with a chair and like kendo sticks, so the ref calls it. This match was so bad that I was almost done with wrestling for good. I guarantee if the pandemic didn't happen in 2020, I would never watch wrestling again because of this match. It was that bad.
But it was a masterpiece. Kevin, like, here's the thing. because it's Bray Wyatt, you can concoct a number of different narratives about it and try and justify it as being good. And that's where the masterpiece thing came from. But the fact of the matter is, Seth Rollins, he had one of the worst top years as a top guy in wrestling history. He beat Brock Lesnar in 90 seconds at WrestleMania to win the title and had a run for 3 months teaming with his wife as he's the man's man against the Burger King Corbin, the Constable Corbin, whatever he was at that time, and Lacey Evans. And then he beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam again because Seth Rollins needs to beat Lesnar twice. And then what did Seth Rollins have to do coming out of SummerSlam, Kevin? Many people say, oh, well, Rollins went straight into the Fiend feud. No, he didn't. Seth Rollins was in a tag team with our white trash redneck hick brawl with the Fiend in Rollins' grill in the corner. Rollins is sobbing to end episodes of Raw. It's like, okay, this is our threatening babyface champion, cowering and whimpering, sobbing in the corner. And then we get to Hell in a Cell, Kevin.
Yeah.
We get to Hell in a Cell between Fiend and Rollins. And people still like, oh, well, the match should have been in the cell. Why? If you're going to have a no contest finish, just don't have a cell, Kevin. They've been feuding for 3 weeks. It wasn't hard. But then WWE do it in the cell. And the initial planned ending was Rollins throwing the Fiend off the top of the cell through the table. That would have been good. That would have actually been like a oh my god moment. But no. What they do is they have Seth Rollins hitting about 16 curb stomps, getting a toolbox, a mallet, a chair. We have the referee calling a no contest, Kevin. You've got the crowd in Sacramento chanting, "We want refunds, AEW." Okay, you've got the crowd chanting AEW. And people want to say this isn't the worst Hell in a Cell match, or even one of the worst pay-per-view endings ever. You've got Seth Rollins, who is as uncool as it gets at the time, hitting this unstoppable monster with 17 curb stomps and a mallet and a toolbox, and the match is a no contest. And you got X-Pac on WWE.com's Hell in a Cell watch-along saying some of the worst things he's ever seen, and then he gets banned from doing watch-alongs for the rest of the time. And you have a bunch of WWE catering personnel being like, oh my god, this is really good, just so they can keep their job and keep getting a paycheck. Kevin, this was by far the worst Hell in a Cell match ever. This was awful. The fact that I had to watch this live made me feel sick. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. I hate it. Okay, Kevin, there is nothing redeemable about this. The fact that this is called a masterpiece, that is a blight on wrestling YouTube. That is a joke. This was awful, Kevin. Awful.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, Shane McMahon probably heard about that ending with Bray Wyatt coming off the top of the cell and just nixed it. He's like, yeah, bro, you're not taking my stuff, man. That's my shtick. Only I jump off the cell. So, I mean, God, this ending was so bad. I already said it. I didn't watch wrestling after this for 4 months. Yeah, I was not going to come back. I mean, I felt like at this point, wrestling had passed me by. I was just too old to be watching it. I was watching it, I felt a disconnect. This is just not for me anymore. I'm missing something here. Why is Seth Rollins beating up the Fiend? How are we supposed to take Seth Rollins serious when he's literally being cucked out on live TV by his wife? We're supposed to take him serious as he's beating up this supernatural being? That's like if Val Venus was in a feud with The Undertaker back in 1998, and Val Venus had some woman pose as his wife on TV, and his wife is telling him what to do, and it's the opposite of the Big Val Boski character. And then Val Venus and Undertaker having this Hell in a Cell match 2 weeks later, and Val Venus is just beating up the Undertaker until the referee stops it. This is Hell in a Cell. This is the same match where Mick Foley lost teeth. Mick Foley nearly died in a match because he got thrown off a cell through a table and then chokeslammed through the cell when the cell broke and literally nearly died for this Hell in a Cell match. And then you're ending it in a disqualification. There was no bloodshed. There was no viciousness. It was Seth Rollins trying his best to look like a horror movie character, gently hitting a 285-pound man dressed as a clown until the ref steps in and says, oh, throw it off, ring the bell, throw the match away. That's what we got. And people defend this because, someone in the community has said, oh, this is a masterpiece, someone with a lot of influence trying to be counterproductive.
Sorry, go on.
Trying to be counterproductive, and that's kind of changed the narrative and skewed the way this match is looked at. It's just, I don't know how anyone can watch this and see this is good. What was the case for this being a masterpiece? This created the Messiah character?
Because Fiend changes his opponents, and you could physically see Rollins changing to the dark side in this match or something. That was basically what the case was.
Jeez. Yeah, that's just brutal. Just brutal.
And I say once again, if you want to do that, it makes sense. It really does. Don't do it inside the cell. Why? This match had 2 weeks build, and they go and do that. Kevin, this is just... It's the worst match I've ever watched live. Like, watching this live, I had like a sinking feeling in my gut. Like, I cannot describe how watching this live felt like. I've watched the 2015 Royal Rumble live. I've watched this live. This is exponentially worse. This makes the 2015 Royal Rumble look like Austin and Rock at WrestleMania 17. This was 15 minutes I will never forget, and not for good reasons. The fact that this is called a masterpiece is an absolute crying shame to takes in the wrestling community. It's a joke. So, yeah, I'm done, Kevin. That's been... Unless you have anything else to say?
No, we can close it.
Yeah, that's been the top 10 worst Hell in a Cell matches. And I think a trend we can see from this list, 6 through 10 are just kind of not memorable or like not good for like one way or another. And the top 5 are just dead. And number 1 especially is just... But it's a clear number 1. There's no debating that that's the worst Hell in a Cell match ever. So that's been the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like, comment, sub. Make sure you sub to the Elite Heat channel. Go sub to Bonafide Heat. Sub to me if you're not. Sub to Kevin, all that kind of good stuff. Share the show around. Check us out on Anchor and Spotify there, John, on our podcasting journey. So, yeah, Kevin, unless you have anything else to say, I think we're done here.
That's it. We'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.